Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Jonathan of Vigilance. I am followed today by War Spirit. How are you doing this evening, War Spirit?
Excellent, John. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We've got a new intro for the show. I'm quite happy about that. The last one was getting kind of stale, so kind of realized that last episode. I was like, it's great and all, but I'm just kind of done with it. So here we are with that. All right, so of the list of things here. Let me go ahead and look at those. Thanks for prepping these for me, by the way, War Spirit. It wouldn't be anything without you. So, you know what? Instead of listing them out, let's go ahead and do it one at a time. But before we do that, how about we start with prayer? Lord, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for protecting War Spirit, Lord. Thank you for the freedom to broadcast and for all the technical difficulties of just skimming away, Lord. Thank you for helping us with the show, for giving us the talent necessary, Lord, for just blessing us continually every day. Lord, continue to bless this show, bless the people that listen to it, bless the people who don't listen to it, Lord. Continue to give us your mercy and favor. We adore you in your Son's mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
So, I'm kind of excited for tonight. I mean, it's been kind of a slow news week, as you can understand. It's been a slow while, sadly. Ever since Biden got elected, the media isn't really giving out any sensationalist news because everything's fine. It's time for healing. Yay. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Is my mic cutting in and out again?
It is. I'd have thought maybe it was just on my side.
No, it's cutting in and out. Let me go ahead and fix that. It's something to do with the threshold that I'm messing with. What do we got to talk about today, Ty?
Well, let's see here. We got the big thing is Como's the Democrat Party using him as a sacrificial lamb. We'll get into that a little bit more, but we also have Dr. Seuss. Apparently can't be talking about no Dr. Seuss. You can talk about the number one song last year, which was WAP.
Right.
Which those of you don't know, I ain't gonna go into the actual acronym of that. I mean, you can talk about WAP all you want, and you can talk about the lyrics and stuff, and that's great.
Getting it, on the other hand, I'm sorry.
Well, that's some people have that problem. I'm sorry. But you can't talk about green eggs and ham.
Right.
That's
it's fine
too far.
Yeah, it's fine to display yourself as a morbid animal. How do I sound now, by the way? Am I still cutting in and out, War Spirit?
You're sounding better now, yes.
That's good. You're able to display yourself, and you're able to expose your children to
You're
these.
still cutting now.
Damn it! Oh, I'm just gonna. That's it. Add it. Hold on.
Sorry for these technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. As he's working on that, I'll keep giving you kind of the rundown of what we got going on here. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about just basically the cancel culture that we got going on in today's society, which is really sad. Apparently, also, you can't have Mr. Potato Head anymore because that's don't assume that potato's gender. That's really important. It's a life or death thing there. We got update on what's going on with Gina Carano. Also, with that, Kathleen Kelly, the head of Disney, Star Wars stuff, her and Jon Favreau are having a kind of a little tit for tat argument. So we'll get into that and why she hates Jon Favreau so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one you brought before us there.
Yeah, just drama and Disney Plus is basically how I labeled it. And then we got your history corner. What are we talking about on your history corner?
We're going to be talking about Waco Siege. If I can get my freaking mic to work, that is. I think hopefully it's working now.
Yes, you're sounding better now.
That's good. Just let me know if it starts cutting in and out.
Yeah, I'll let you know. And then on my side, preparing for the day, we're going to be talking about prepping with stuff versus prepping with skills and why you need both of them.
Very important. So, I would like to go ahead and start with Dr. Seuss. So, if you've been paying attention, Dr. Seuss is under attack. I'm guessing. So, what's the latest attack? I know they've gone after him before, but what's the big one now?
So the latest attack. Well, let's back up. So first of all, for those of you who don't know, so we're just not like shooting in the dark for you. They removed Dr. Seuss from pretty much all streaming services, all internet stuff, because they say that there's lots of different things that are offensive in Dr. Seuss and racist. And the latest, because of all that, people were selling their Dr. Seuss books on eBay and making a literal killing, like $500 to $1,000 a book.
Wow.
And so eBay sees this and says, well, we don't want them to profit on racism. And so they took down all the sales that have to do with Dr. Seuss. But there's one important book, John, that you can still get. And I know that all of the fascist pieces of crap out there in the nation will appreciate they can still buy Mein Kampf.
Yep, you can still get Mein Kampf on eBay.com. But you had best not, according to the Thought Police, dare, and I mean dare you, show your children such a racially racist charged book such as Green Eggs and Ham. Oh, they will have your head.
That's right.
That's
bring
just
a bucket and a mop for my wet.
Yeah, for my wet eggs and ham.
Yes, my wet eggs and ham.
I do not want that, Sam. I am. We have fun on the show, as you can imagine, but to kind of really slap onto the point here, it's something that I talked about earlier in the week, War Spirit, and that was the degradation of culture and the slope that even Rome faced and other things like that. Not to go into like an early history corner, but history, this is why I studied history, is I find it very interesting to be able to relate to what's going on. You'll look at the art and what it became in the final days of these nations, what art it produced, what it made. Oh, what in the devil? Yeah, that's a Snapchat freaking sound. People hitting me up. They're like, hey, you doing your show tonight? But if you look at the art and the media and the music of the time, you'll notice a common theme with falling and failing nations that are very prosperous even as they're falling, at least compared to the rest of the world. Their music taste, their art taste are foul, are disgusting, cruel, and they even see things that are good, say like Dr. Seuss, teaching valuable lessons. They'll see that as evil. Because, dare I say, Dr. Seuss could make a mistake. But I don't even think it was a mistake, because it's probably the Tojo stuff that he's in trouble for, isn't it?
They're taking all Dr. Seuss down.
I understand, but that's why. Is it because he made World War II propaganda against the Japanese?
That might be part of it. I also heard just certain characters they feel are insensitive racially. Something to do with the Cat in the Hat. I forgot what they were basically saying about the Cat in the Hat, but basically he was racially insensitive.
These people are so deluded, so disgustingly fooled. I have never once looked at the Cat in the Hat and said, gee, this book makes me hate minorities. You know? I just don't see it. And it's just so odd to me.
I mean, every time I look at the Cat in the Hat, it makes me think of WAP.
Right. Well, to put it this way, right? You look at the Cat in the Hat, and you see a child's book that's just charming, friendly, inoffensive, kind. I mean, obviously it wasn't that racist, so even where Hollywood made a whole terrible live-action film to follow it up.
You're kind of cutting out on my side again. I don't know if you're doing
on
that
like
on
Discord
the audience or not.
Okay, that's a bit weird. So if it's just on your end, that's really weird.
Yeah, I think it's just on my end, because now you're like, that's a bit weird.
And that's weird. But going on with that, they made a terrible live-action film. So obviously it wasn't racist for Hollywood a few years ago. And by a few years ago, I probably mean like 12 years ago. I don't know how long ago that was. But it's all part of that finding a dragon to slay. It's like, oh, chase the windmills. Because, I don't know if you've ever heard that parable before, but it was about those knights who like chased at windmills thinking they were dragons. They had to be heroes. Yeah, they had to be heroes. They had to fight something, because if they didn't fight anything, then they wouldn't be seen as heroes and they wouldn't get their good boy points, right? So that's what the social justice warrior is all about. That's their entire virtue signaling bullcrap. Cat in the Hat, look at that. It's offensive. And we're gonna, just like those World War II veterans, we're gonna stand up against fascism by banning children's books.
Well, yeah, and you know, we got, not only do we have to ban children's books, we also have to ban a piece of plastic that protects a male potato, because by all means we can't have a male potato.
Yeah, no, you can't.
That potato is gender neutral.
Right. And
the gender neutral potato.
I really get fired up. I kind of avoid it because it is just so inanely stupid. The whole gender thing, right? That's come about. It's like, oh yeah, no, there's more than one or there's more than two genders. There's a gender, quad gender, helicopter, whatever. There's just all these different genders, and it doesn't make any sense. All the way to the point where you can identify as being none of them and just whatever. You could be whatever you want to be, and to me, I'm sitting back. I'm like, as a jest, that's fine, and even as some kind of inspirational metaphor, it could be okay. But as a literal sense No, I don't identify as either. Okay, did an accident happen? Did you lose your giblets? Oh, now that's offensive. I apologize, but that's
Well,
logic.
if you lose your giblets, that means you're still a dude, because be able to lose your giblets, because if you got an innie, it's kind of hard to lose those.
Right.
I mean,
and that's that just being said, yeah, you kind of have to be trying most of the time. I do apologize for anybody who has accidentally lost their giblets and listened to our show. We might have lost our gibletless audience. Sorry there. Our huge gibletless demographic we were aiming for.
It was from a pencil in his back pocket.
Oh my... Ow! If I'm thinking of that right, that sounds incredibly painful, War Spirit. Don't fill my head with these things.
That's off of a movie. While you were sleeping with Sandra Bullock, this dude loses his left testicle because he had a pencil in his pocket.
Interesting.
Yeah, good movie. Comedy. She doesn't know that he had a missing testicle, but she guessed correctly. Yeah, she's the whole premise of the story is she is pretending to be somebody she's not, and she's pretending to be his fiance. He got in a wreck or like an accident, and he has amnesia, and so he couldn't remember who she was, and she likes him, so she's like, "Well, I'm your fiance." Oh, okay.
Right. So anyways, getting into that, it's like to talk about like the whole gender thing. It's very tied into just really kind of active measures from the communists where they're just trying to undermine the country.
Oh yeah, and it's little things like they basically they're stripping away Americanism. And I know, like, you're like, oh, Mr. Potato Head, but look how old Mr. Potato Head is. Okay, that is a piece of American child history.
And fun fact.
Also,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, fun fact: it was the first televised, advertised toy back in the 50s.
There you go. See, so it's been around a very, 60s? Very long time.
But it was the first televised, advertised toy.
I do know that the original Potato Head just came with the arms and the legs and the mouth and the nose and the eyes. Yeah. And you actually took a real potato and stuck them into it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Those children in the Great Depression, I could imagine their folks, stop playing with your food. Stop playing with the whole family's food. That's our one potato, sucker.
Well, that's why it wasn't until the 50s that they did that. They had plenty again.
Yeah, they had plenty again.
But you got that, and then you also got Disney thinking about. Right now, they just put a warning sign on it, but they're thinking about canceling and removing the Muppets.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Again, look at what's happening. What did the Muppets ever do? Like, I get it that Family Guy made some jokes featuring Kermit where he was a bayou frog, and being from the South, you could put one and one together. But as a franchise, the Muppets, Jim Harrison, am I saying that right?
I don't get it. Why? What do you mean bayou frog and one to one together? I don't understand.
Well, what do they do in the South in the bayou? They're racist down there. That's just how it is. Now, is that a fact?
They eat frogs.
Do you really want me to play the clip?
I'm literally clueless. I don't understand what you mean.
I'm just saying it was a joke about the South, and like Kermit is a Southern frog, so he's like a Southern white person. So obviously,
so he's a Southerner.
In Family Guy, right?
Why is it bad to be a Southerner?
It's not bad to be a Southerner, but cancel culture is going to take a joke that somebody made and think that the franchise did it.
I'm messing with you. I know what you're talking about.
I was about to get freaking pissed, War Spirit. You had me riled up. I was like, I am going to have your head. Stalling the show like this. over that, I was about to lose my head. Oh my
uh,
gosh.
so so also with that, speaking of Disney, do you want to jump into the Disney debacle real
Yeah, you
fast?
know a lot about that, so I think that'd be good.
Okay, so I've been following this since it first broke, where we first heard that Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian, guys. For our audience out there, I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, but I'm a Star Wars fan of good Star Wars. Okay, the first original trilogy. I do like the some of the side movies that they made. I really do like Rogue One, and a lot of people didn't like Solo. I thought Solo was amazing.
Yeah, me too.
But those are the only two of the new Disney stuff under Kathleen Kelly that I liked.
Yep.
And it was really strange because the new trilogy, the newest trilogy, because there's a middle trilogy, and I guess young guys like you like it, John, but I still think that's trash.
What?
With Anakin.
Oh, I listen. It's not that I adore it more than the originals. I just think that I like Episode 3 quite a lot. I think it's very important, and that it could have been made better. Sure, that the entire like prequel story, but I do like Episode 3 quite a lot.
What kills it for me is the 1, 2, and 3 is, well, actually 1 isn't because it's got the kid. So I do like 1. But 2 and 3, I hate that actor. I hate how they portrayed him as a whiny little kid.
Well, yeah, and I think the reason I like 3 is that he
gets everywhere.
well, in 3 he just shuts up and he just starts doing evil stuff for once, and it's like, finally, you know what I mean?
Well, that doesn't even make sense though, because they didn't really. There is no build up to him being evil. He just blam, he's evil.
Yeah, in a way. I mean,
And it's just like I don't know. That's maybe it's
we
just
could sit here, we could Star Wars debacle for hours on end. So I mean,
yeah. So I'm sorry. Moving on. So the new trilogy, the first one was okay. They introduce you to Rey. She's all right. They
yeah,
do show some of the original characters, but they're old. They're they're old.
right. Well, and that's just it. Like, at first, when the new Star Wars came out, like, to talk about that, right? I remember, like, it was announced that there was going to be Star Wars Episode 7, I think it was, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was working at Walmart at the time, and I remember, like, running over to my good friend, John Redcorn from Attack of the Skinwalker. You can watch that. I remember running over to him, bro, new Star Wars movie, and he like looks over at me. He's like, I know, and we're like just having a great time.
It would actually be, no, I guess it would be 6 because yeah, 4, 5, and 6 was A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, or no, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
We like Star
You're
Wars,
right.
gentlemen. We love Star Wars.
Yeah,
or loved, past tense.
So let's back up here. We loved Star Wars, and then Kathleen Kelly came into the Disney family after Disney had bought Star Wars and made these 3 atrocious films that I'm sorry, other than Rey and Kylo Ren and I usually can remember the Flynn. I can't even remember anybody's name.
Yeah.
And out of those 3, I don't even like any of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are no likable, lovable characters in the film. So you might say. So John, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Then you're a racist,
right? I'm a misogynist.
Yes, you're a misogynist and you're a racist because you don't like these characters. But I adored Princess Leia. She was a female character.
We love Lando Calrissian.
Yes, of Sky City. He
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. He was. You put it best, and I thought it was hilarious, but it's true. He was the Disco King of Star Wars of the
All
future.
right, you don't need to be calling me out like that.
Because he was cool. He's got
He's
the
freaking
fro.
cool, man.
He's freaking cool.
Yeah, I freaking love Lando.
And he's he gets all the ladies. He's the ladies' man.
Exactly.
Even Leia was like kind of like,
And Lando had like a screen time of like what, 5 minutes?
He didn't have very much. Like, yeah, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the whole, like, well, I mean, and they show him on, like, after that episode, they do show him also on Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. And I mean, but still, he's still kind of like a side character, yet I
he
remember
is
his
a side
name.
character.
I remember his name. Flynn? It took me forever to remember that. And so,
so Lando Calrissian and Han Solo are actually my two favorite characters in Star Wars, period.
I'm trying to think my two favorite. I really like that dude who's on a floating rock in lava on Mustafar. He shows up for like 2 seconds. Yeah, that's about my favorite. Oh, and Obi-Wan's cool. I really like Obi-Wan. And Boba Fett.
And here's another thing to prove, like, well, I don't think I have to prove that I'm not rated, but the old characters were likable. Even the droids. Who in the Star Wars fandom does not know the original two droids?
Yeah.
You know, which one am I talking about? Without giving too much away.
It's either one or two. It's C-3PO or R2-D2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Those two droids right there, everybody knows them because they're likable, lovable, they're hilarious. They have this whole love-hate relationship with each other of their friendship. It's great. But I cannot for the life of me remember that stupid little ball on the new Star Wars.
I'm thinking it might be like R8 or something. I'm not really sure.
I actually looked it up for the show, but I don't remember it. It's DB8.
Oh, DB8. Well, see, I don't even know. But that's just being said. So there's a writing flaw in, and I would say Star Wars is a major influencer of popular, like just pop culture. It is pop culture. Like when Star Wars rolls up, there's going to be a new phrase. And that's something too. The original Star Wars, everybody, even if you haven't seen Star Wars, Luke. What comes after Luke? When that phrase, Luke.
I'm your father.
You know, and you just know. Even if you've seen it, even if you haven't seen it. Now, what is the cause of this terrible writing? What is the cause of all of this? And that's kind of what I want to get into, is, again, social justice warrior crap. And
correct. So Kathleen Kelly, she's a huge social justice warrior. And so all the stuff that she put into the new Star Wars, making sure that the quote lead was a female, which I'm fine with. That's okay. But then also they had to have make sure to have the black stormtrooper. But with all this stuff, every time the writers, from what I understand, the story writers would start writing up something, thinking, oh, why don't we make the stormtrooper fall in love with Rey, which you think is going to happen, right? But see, Kathleen didn't like that because she's like, well, she's a strong woman. She doesn't need a man. So they changed it. And it wasn't good enough. He was a black dude.
They introduced this other person, which I'm not even going to try and remember that name. It was that Asian woman in episode 8, I believe.
Yeah. For his potential love interest.
That movie made me mad. Episode 8, I think, is hands down, like, if, like, it used to be, you couldn't make me watch Attack of the Clones. Episode 2, you could not make me watch that again. Like,
it's
in my opinion, it is better than that. Like,
yep. So the new one, that would be, what is that? Let's see. Is that 8 or 9?
That's probably 9, which I still haven't seen. I gave up on Star Wars.
It goes in so many different directions and dead ends that it's just mind-boggling. You can't keep up with the show because it's like it makes no sense. They go on this entire rescue mission. The guy that's basically supposed to be the new Han Solo character, the
Right.
Italian / Spanish looking guy, I forget his name. Uh, he is supposed to be like the new Han Solo guy because he's supposed to be this cool pilot guy, right? So him and Flynn and all these, they go on this cool like side mission thing, and all this, and it all ends up being for naught.
It's not the first time. Episode 8, for example, they go visit this like super rich planet that is like purely a casino, and find out that people are like that there are literal slave children on that planet, right? That are being worked. But they don't free the children; they free their horses or their space horses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what am I watching? Is this like some kind of... Maybe I'm numb to it. Maybe we're just numb to it, War Spirit. Maybe we cannot enjoy some kind of garbage propaganda.
Well, that's what it turned into with Kathleen, is exactly that, propaganda. Now, let's fast forward a year later, after the last movie. About a year, I think.
Oh.
There's this thing called Disney Plus.
Yep, here it is.
And on Disney Plus, a man named Jon Favreau, he's been in several movies. Maybe you guys have heard of him. And he not only has been in several movies, he's a huge Star Wars fan. And he talked Disney into letting him head The Mandalorian. Because he himself felt the same way that me and you do, John, that the franchise had been led astray. And so he wanted to help correct it and right it.
Right. And it was good.
Oh, The Mandalorian was amazing. The first episode I watched, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Star Wars. Where have you been, Star Wars? And the characters, they're likable. You like the Mandalorian right off the bat, like right out of the gate. You like him. All of the characters. They bring back Lando Calrissian. He's an old son of a gun, but he's on there and he's cool still. And they bring back several old characters, including some from a cartoon. I'm not trying to be too spoilery, but if you haven't watched The Mandalorian by now, I mean, come on. So they bring back Ahsoka Tano. I'll just go ahead and do that spoiler for you guys.
Right.
And she's cool. She's totally badass. And all these characters you just adore. Including a young lady who ends up being kind of a sheriff of an area of a town. She's an ex rebel shock trooper, and she's pretty badass. She's a warrior, right?
Right. So so to kind of like wrap around all of that, right? Like, so this was played by a woman who was actually kind of like nil to politics. She didn't really care. Was until... So she posted a thing, which is still inoffensive in my opinion. I don't like Nazis. She doesn't like Nazis. She went on Twitter, and to basically sum it up, she says, you know what? I don't like Nazis. And I don't like what Nazis did.
She didn't even say that.
All right.
All she said... She didn't even say Nazi. What she did is she said the reason why the Nazis that Germany was able to do what they did to the Jewish people is they started with making the German people hate a certain class of people.
Yep.
Basically, she alluded and explained that if these class of people, which were the Jews, if the German people hadn't have been turned on them and hated them, the Nazis could have never sent them to death camps.
On the point. And Disney saw this tweet. Disney saw this
Yes.
tweet, a very heartwarming message of saying, guys, we need to stop censoring. We need to stop canceling. We need to stop targeting people based on anything. We need to stop targeting groups of people. I mean, that being said, the communists are targeting us, so I think it's fair enough to say, target your enemy, but let's put it this way. To get on topic, she said this is what the Nazis did. So who's the persecuted? It's the Christians, it's the conservatives. Everything we say is scrutinized, criticized, made to make us be hated everywhere we go. So it's much like Nazi Germany. And this is where they're going with it. That is their agenda. They want us dead, and they're going to want to put us in camps. So she kind of puts this out, not to really... even, I think, like, not to even be offensive to a certain side that's guilty of doing this, which they are. But she posts that, and Disney wasn't having it. Disney called her in, said, you are done. And as well as, who else was it? Who was that one?
Well, let's back up. Whoa. Kind of a little bit of an error there. She wasn't even informed that she was fired. She found out that Disney fired her on Twitter.
Oh, wow.
They did not even have the cojones to call her and tell her, by the way, you're not going to be filming anymore.
That's freaking pathetic.
Yes. And so Cara Dune, that's Gina Carano's character in The Mandalorian, what Kathleen Kelly originally wanted after they fired her was to recast that character with somebody else. Now, Jon Favreau liked Gina Carano. He went to bat for her as much as he possibly could have. And tried to get her on, but Disney wasn't having none of it. Which, if they would have turned around and rehired her, actually right off the bat, probably would have been the best thing to do, Disney, because now you're in a crap storm. But Kathleen, she wanted a recasting, and Jon Favreau said no. She's like, "What do you mean no?" This is they actually were talking about this. Gina was on an interview. Because I guess John had told her, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to recast her." Well, you have to see, because they were already planning on making Gina the head of the new forget what spinoff, the New Knights of the Old Republic or something like that.
Huh.
And where she was going to be, like, they were going to talk about like the basically like the sheriffs and stuff, and like the law enforcement of these of all these different planets, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what she was getting into. She was kind of like the sheriff of this planet. And Jon Favreau said, no, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, well, what are we going to do then? I don't know. I guess that's your problem.
Yep.
And she got pissed. So let's back up a little bit more. So Kathleen Kelly already didn't like Jon Favreau because he made a successful Star Wars franchise. So it pissed her off that everybody didn't like her Star Wars, but everybody loved Jon Favreau's Star Wars.
Yeah.
So you're being mean to the girl.
Yeah. It's because his content was an ass.
Exactly. Yeah. He was true to the original George Lucas story.
Yeah. And it's kind of just, again, it's just a pissing contest in Hollywood. It always has been. And, they're using this, I think it's kind of funny that, it's funny because Hollywood's going to pay for this cancel culture they've created, because they've used it to basically be able to control the media on the scale of entertainment in every way. It's like, oh, well, this film doesn't use these actors and doesn't fund these pockets, so it's racist. How? Doesn't matter how, it just is. So,
yep. What you're saying we don't like, so it's racist.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the simplicity of that. Yep, and that's that wrapped up.
There is good news for Gina, and I'm sure all of you know this. She was hired by the Daily Wire, which is well, there's a problem with Disney's assumption that she's racist against Jews, because that's what they said. Do you know who runs the Daily Wire, John?
Yeah. It's Shin Bapiro.
Yes, Ben Shapiro runs the Daily Wire. He's the owner and operator of it, and he's Jewish. He actually interviewed Gina, and the first thing he said is I'm Jewish. I'm probably the most Jewish person you'll ever see. I even wear the hat. And he tipped his head down and showed that he had the little hat thing on, and continued to interview her. They went over it. Now, Ben did say, is like, look, well, maybe you shouldn't have been making Holocaust comparisons, because he said, the Jewish community doesn't really appreciate how often it's used for every little thing.
Right.
But with that said, he said, I understand what you were saying, though, and I agree with it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
But so she is going to be working over there, and supposedly they're going to be making a movie. That's so good. I'm really excited to see what they come up with. Now, I really do hope that they do come up with something that is truly quality, because that's what's needed. So for those of you who have seen some Christian films in the past, I love the message of a lot of these Christian films, but sometimes they suck.
It's kind of like our music. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The quality of the actors isn't there. Like, for example, I'll actually ask my wife in the background, what was the Christian one with the football? Facing the Giants. So there's a movie called Facing the Giants, and I love the message behind Facing the Giants, but the actors are atrocious.
I didn't think it was that bad, but granted, I was a kid. Oh my
God!
But I'll tell you what was at the time was a beautiful message, and I was kind of overconsumed by the beautiful message. But it was a terrible film. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but it was about leaving the cross up and the flag up, and they managed to stretch this very simple message into a 2-hour film. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's called the Last Stand or something.
Even Fireproof, and that's got who's the main guy on Fireproof, babe?
You have lost your phone call.
Who's the main guy on Fireproof? Kirk Cameron. So Kirk Cameron's the main guy on Fireproof. He's the guy that played on Growing Pains as a kid. And so he's a good actor. But the rest of all the actors around him were from this Baptist church, this small little church, and it sucked. The message is great. And I love watching it for the message. And there's a few funny parts in it too. But the acting is terrible. And I really hope that Gina Carano gets some good talent for acting. Because it's one thing to have agree on an ideology. It's a whole nother thing to actually like it. And I don't want it. So I am going to grade on a curve, because let's face it, they are doing this just like with a Christian film. I grade on a curve. They're doing it to further a message, or to further the love of Christ, or whatever. And so you got to give them a little bit of some leniency, but I still want quality.
Right. Okay.
So you want to talk about?
Yeah, we're gonna get into David Koresh, the Waco Siege, moments in history.
No. Como.
Cuomo? Oh, yeah, we can get into that. Sorry, I kind of forgot about that. So Cuomo is this guy. He's like an Italian. He's a politician. And basically,
Former governor of New York.
yeah, former governor of New York. The leftist deep cabal is throwing him up there to get attention away from Biden, our president. To get attention away from Biden, to get it away from Hunter Biden, to get it away from that whole mess, because Cuomo doesn't matter to the left anymore. He's of no use. So, if they could get both sides to concentrate on little Cuomo, the little fish in the pond who's already served his time of destroying this great country, then they can keep going on because we're distracted by this little Italian mobster. And his actions concerning young boys, is it?
No, young women.
Oh, okay.
20-somethings usually.
So he's not a pedo.
No, he's not a pedo that I know of. So in so a lot of this stuff came out during the election that he was sexually harassing his staff. He was always making off-color jokes to the young interns. But it wasn't a big deal then. Now all of a sudden, magically, it's a big deal that he asks a 25-year-old girl if she enjoys having sex with older men.
Interesting.
It's a big deal that all of a sudden, and it happened before. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but to them it wasn't a big deal before. But now all of a sudden it's a big deal that every time he went around her, he caressed her back and made off-color jokes. I don't want to misspeak and say stuff, but I think he made an off-color joke about his penis, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I would have to look, but he made some kind of sexual joke to her, and his remark to it before was, "Oh, if you don't have a effing sense of humor, then I don't need you." But It wasn't a joke. It's just when he got caught, he said it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke.
Right. So they're basically throwing Cuomo under the bus as a flare to distract the masses, is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because like I sit back, I'm like, oh really? We're gonna worry about what this old washed-up dude said to a 20-something-year-old sometime years ago? Well, I'm surprised they're doing that one to a Democrat. I'm kind of glad to see that, but at the same time, it's really not pertinent information at all.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think they're doing it, John. Because, so one, they're trying to get our attention off of Biden, which is a pedophile.
Yeah.
So they're doing the razzle-dazzle over here. They're making him into the sacrificial lamb. So now they can say, see, the Democrat Party thinks very importantly of the #MeToo movement. And we took down one of our own.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. No, that's that simplified. What do we want to get into here?
As audience, as the late great Rush Limbaugh used to say, and I'm going to steal his phrase now. I know these liberals like every square inch of my glorious naked body.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very predictable, they're very repetitive, and they're very evil and vicious, vapid creatures.
Correct.
So
moving forward, we got your history corner.
Yeah, so speaking of vapid, rabid creatures, let's talk about the ATF for a few minutes.
We were recently stricken by a disaster.
Prosperity isn't something on which we can base our hopes for the future. No nation in history has ever survived an accident that reached a third of its national income. Today, 30.
So, February 28th marks the anniversary of Waco Siege. Waco Siege is an interesting conflict, as it basically involves a set of confused and ridiculous individuals with a set of evil, bloodthirsty individuals. And you can flip it either way, but the truth is, in my opinion, that the ATF were truly bloodthirsty, and these other individuals were very confused. That being said, David Koresh. So David Koresh was the leader of the Branch Davidians, I believe?
It was a cult.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, the Branch Davidians or whatever they are. Yeah, so the Branch Davidians was a cult that was based in Waco, Texas, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was based in Waco, Texas, led by David Koresh, who was a sack of crap. He took many wives that were way too young, ranging from 12 to 13, and, of course, had his way with them, and the saying is far, it was in the eyes of God, right? So, he also started different operations, and, of course, received help from other men in the cult to kind of lay down the foundations of how they were going to be recognized, is what I would gather. So a UPS driver delivering stuff to the compound, the Waco compound, had noticed one of the packages busted open to reveal black powder, grenade casings, and what looks like to be pieces for machine guns. The UPS driver was concerned and, of course, let the sheriff's department know. Sheriff's Department calls the ATF. The ATF inquire over the phone to David Koresh and his co-leader, which was, I think, was something Aguilera.
Christina?
No. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
She's a genie in a bottle.
Yeah. So, as far as it goes, They phone him. He says, yeah, you can inspect our compound. That's fine. But Aguilera didn't agree. And there's immediately kind of a contention there. So on and so forth. Time comes down. Turns out, so there was, I guess they started shooting one day just down range. And a farmer not far from the Waco compound heard what he described as M16s going off. So again, add more suspicion to the fire. The ATF, basically, they were getting reports. There's some people saying they were running a meth lab, others saying all kinds of stuff. The ATF were solely focused on, to quote them, we are focused on the illegal firearms, not the drugs. Very interesting. I just think that's kind of funny.
Y'all just shoot up whatever you want into your arms. That's okay. And rape little kids. That's good too. We're all good with that. But that M60 machine gun, that's going too far.
Exactly. That's the ATF. This is not a moral organization coming to be the heroes. So, during the events of Waco Siege, it begins. And, I mean, the amount of stupidity found on both sides. I mean, so the Branch Davidians are like, oh crap, they're here. So, of course, the freaking David Koresh probably started stomping around. In fact, I think he did. He started stomping around being like, it's the end of days! It's our time to shine! You know what I mean? Rallying his people and this is what we've been waiting for! And all this crap. So, I don't really know how it went down, but I do know that the ATF, unauthorized. The ATF are really good at this. Look at Ruby Ridge. They unauthorized just laying down fire into one of the rooms, from the sidewall. They just started shooting in there.
Mm-hmm.
They just started unloading. And then they threw a flashbang. That being said, the flashbang landed in, one of the cribs of the children. That was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
as well as one of the bullets they fired through the wall hit one of the mothers in the forehead or something like that. Just hit her in the head, killing her. So now you have a radicalized cult. Good job. you approached this fantastically. Well done, ATF. So the ATF, now that this radicalized cult, they decide, oh, let's try to enter in. Yeah, and they were met with M16s. They were met, and I'm kind of glad 4 ATF agents were killed in Waco Siege. 16 were wounded. So that's good. 4 scumbags off the planet of the Earth. Oh, wait, am I being a bit offensive? No, screw the ATF. But sadly, that being said, I'm not exactly for the Branch Davidians either. But
no, they were weird, but
yeah.
I just wish they would have been a little bit better marksmen.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's just like, pick your scumbags here. Because the ATF are fine with the pedophilia, they're fine with everything else, but you better not arm yourself.
There should have been 20 dead ATF agents.
Yeah, I would have liked for that. Instead, we only got 4 dead and 16 wounded. Whereas for those 4 dead, now this one I know that the ATF have covered up, and that the government that stands have covered it up. So a fire begins, and there was a safe room in this, like, towards the center of the building. I think it was like even in the basement. The building catches on fire. The ATF, let's be honest, what they did is they shot incendiary rounds in there. They don't want to admit that. They said some BS, like one of the smoke canisters caught the carpet on fire, right? Like, I'm sure that could happen, but it's not exactly common. And so 76 people died, some of which just wanted out by the end of it, some of which didn't even care. They were done with this fight. They didn't want to put up with it. The ATF slaughtered these people by burning down their cult house. And it's actually quite tragic. A lot of women and children died. In fact, that's most of the casualties were women and children. And it's...
one of the biggest tragedies of this all is... Because, again, I don't agree with the Branch Davidians, but the worst guy at all, the dictator, the self-proclaimed Jesus Christ, David Koresh, didn't die.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Again, look back at Ruby Ridge where they kill everyone, even his infant child, and take him alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ATF are vapid, terrible animals, and I literally do not care. I will say it. I despise that branch of the government with every bone in my body, just as much as I hate the communists, as much as I hate the Nazis, as much as I hate Satan himself. The ATF are subhuman, and I do not care for them. So, that's Waco. That's your lesson. Do not, if you piss off them, if you piss off the ATF, be ready to fight back. Otherwise, I'm a law-abiding citizen, but screw the ATF.
And don't start any cults where you.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's not a good.
But
thing.
If you do end up doing that, don't get illegal machine guns, and nobody will bother you. Just,
Yeah. Yeah, just stick with semi-auto.
Yeah, just stick with.
Although
stick with the pedophilia, and you'll be fine. Apparently,
House Bill 120. Yeah. You stick with pedophilia and meth, and you'll be golden.
Yeah. The ATF won't bother you then, but the moment you get yourself one of them fast-shooting guns, I'll tell you what. It's over.
Yeah, then they'll be knocking down your door, unless you run an island full of politicians that are pissed off because you're you're blackmailing them.
Right. So,
but that is a story for another time.
All right. So, what is this I was hearing about preparing for goods and preparing with skills?
Okay, so one thing in the prepper community that I've noticed that preppers do really well, for the most part, is prepping for the 3 Bs. You know what the 3 Bs are, John?
Booze, beer, and bandages.
Beans, bullets, and band-aids.
There you go.
That's just kind of a funny little way to remember it. Like, food,
Right.
firearms, and ammunition, and medical supplies.
Yep.
Usually preppers are really good. If you're a true prepper, it storing those things away as much as you possibly can. And I know times have been tough on everybody. I know that some people have lost their jobs, have actually had to go like into their food storage while they're, while the man of the house doesn't have a job. But that's another thing. That's the reason why you store these things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full economic collapse. I know one family, they were out of he was out of work for like 6 months, and their food storage kept them going. But with that said, that's great that you got those prepped up, stored away. But what happens in a scenario where say you're ultra prepper and you're able to store enough for you and your family of 4, whatever, for a year? What happens after that year?
Mm-hmm.
See, because eventually you're going to run out of stuff. And then the only thing you have to get more stuff with is your skills. And unfortunately, a lot of preppers don't think about that. You need to be not only prepping by storing stuff away, but you need to be, while the internet is still a thing, learning precious skills: blacksmithing, mechanic, electrical, plumbing. I mean, even just construction. All these things can be very valuable in a grid down scenario. There was an example. I was talking to you earlier, and I'll tell the audience. For example, say you've been in a grid down scenario for a while. It's been a full economic collapse. You pretty much, your community's taken care of maybe most of the roving gangs and all that crap, because all the idiots are going to die first. Which along with some good guys, but hopefully more idiots than good guys. And so things are semi-stable, but not great. And you notice your neighbor's cranking on his car. He's been cranking on it for a while. So you go out and you're like, "Hey, Steve, what's going on?" And he's like, Chuck, I trying to get into town. I heard they're doing some trading up there around Animas Valley Mall in the parking lot there. They've turned that whole place into this big marketplace, and I want to see if I can trade some of this food goods for a few other things that we need for the house. Oh, cool. Well, what's wrong with your car? I don't know. And so you, being the good skills prepper that you are, had looked into automobiles and how they run and different simple things with switches and relays and how the relays work and everything. And you notice that all it is the ground wire isn't tight. But Chuck didn't know this because he's not a car guy at all. And you think, well, he's my neighbor, so I want to help him out. But, I got to look for me and my family too. So you tell Chuck, "Hey, tell you what, might be able to fix your problem if you'll give me a few cans of food." And Chuck says, "Well, okay. Would 3 cans work?" Yeah, 3 cans will be good. So you walk over to his battery and tighten the post and say, "Okay, it's done." "You mean that's it?" Yeah, I was not grounded good. Cranks it, starts it right up. Then he reluctantly gives you 3 cans of food.
All right.
Now, in that scenario, some might say, "Oh, well, you cheated him." No, because he didn't know how to get it working. So
it's a fair trade.
Yeah, it's a fair trade. So people need to understand that skills are very, very valuable, because with my skills, if I have some tools, and those are things that you need to get. Then that's another thing that people don't realize, other than the beans, bullet, and band-aids. Everybody here that's prepping should have a basic toolkit with standard sockets and open-end wrenches and metric, because that right there will fix a whole lot of different things, especially on vehicles. And if you have a basic understanding of vehicles, well, that means you can get food for your family. Because before too long, old Chuck, he might reluctantly finally tell somebody, old Steve, he knows about cars. Really? Yeah, he got me going. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to get over there and got my family the extra tar and stuff for our roof for this winter. It would have been really bad. Well, that's great, man. I got a Suzuki Samurai that's not running, and I need somebody to look at it. Oh well, go talk to Chuck. So then this guy goes and talks to Chuck, and before too long, Chuck's running a a end of days mechanic shop. And that's just one of many scenarios. Another good skill that I think we all should be learning is basic blacksmithing.
Yeah, that's actually very important, especially after Teotihuacan. You're going to be looking at people needing knives for all kinds of reasons, or tools. And who makes those tools? The steel guys, blacksmiths.
Correct. Steel workers, blacksmiths. And not only even just like knives. Like knives are big, and that would be a big thing. But even just like simple things. I don't know about a crescent wrench. That's a little bit more of a machined tool. But fire pokers.
80% lowers?
Oh, that's your gunsmith.
There you go.
And being a gunsmith is definitely a huge skill. Could we take about a 5-minute break?
All right, we're at 10:07 now. We've really been going. Yeah, we can.
Well, I mean, we can wrap it up if you want to.
Yeah, we can do that.
Care.
Are you ready to?
Just one more, just a couple more points on that, then, and then we'll. I didn't know how long you wanted to go.
Right.
Just a couple more points on skills. Again, right now we have the unlimited knowledge of the internet. Use that time. Take advantage of it right now, because learning something without it is so much harder. I remember a time when I was a kid when, back in my day, when you wanted to learn something, you didn't have the internet. So you either had to find a guy who already knew it that was willing to teach you, or find a book, and usually that book was missing a lot of pertinent information that you had to figure out for yourself.
Yeah.
Even the old have you ever seen the Chilton's books, like for cars?
I can't even say no.
Okay, so Chilton's was a there was a brand series of books that you could go in, like AutoZone or Checker or wherever, and they had all these Chilton's books, and they had it for every different vehicle. So you just looked up, like, say you wanted a Chilton's book for a Toyota Celica. Well, if they didn't have it, they could order it. And so then you paid for it, and the next day or 3 days later, your Chilton's book for this 1983 Toyota Celica showed up, which is actually what I drove through the end of high school. And so then you had a book telling you, like, how stuff came apart and how it went back together. Kinda. Because it was black and white photos. It was usually from only one or two picture angles. And, like, for example, a drum brake system, they might tell you, like, the gist of how stuff came apart. But, oh, yeah, we forgot to tell you that there was this one bolt back there that you got to loosen to be able to adjust it. And so you're reading a book and frustrated and confused because you can't get it adjusted. I'm going step by step by this book, and it's still not working.
Yep.
So So the cool thing, and sometimes that does still happen on YouTube as well. But the cool thing about YouTube is you can watch 3 or 4 videos on the same subject, and usually you can glean enough information from those 3 or 4 videos to get a task done.
Yeah. And
So
no,
my
go ahead. I was about to say the internet is something right now to download, save, and print.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
So right now, try to save as much of that information as you got. If you have like whatever particular vehicle you have, like for example, say you had like I don't know a very popular truck in this in the United States, like a small truck is like a Ford Ranger. If you have a Ford Ranger, you should be downloading and saving all the information on that year of Ford Ranger that you can find. So that way, in the future, if you're like, dang, how do I get the fan belt back on and off of that Ford Ranger? Well, you got the information.
Yep. So just try to save as much info as you can of pertinent information. If there's questions that are bothering you, you can use Google for the most part. You can also, if you're like me and you don't like Google, there's other search engines such as DuckDuckGo, which is quite excellent.
Mm-hmm.
You can also get a VPN. Me and War Spirit quite enjoy Surfshark. Go ahead and sponsor us, Surfshark. That'd be cool.
Yes, we would love you to sponsor us, Surfshark. We do use Surfshark. It is a pertinent tool in my opinion. I actually have it running in the background right now.
Yeah, I have to turn my VPN off generally for the show just to keep everything up to speed.
Yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate. But ATF, you'll know where he is, but you don't know where I am.
Come get me, bastards. All right.
But also, lastly, with that, as far as like internet stuff, I'm also a big fan of Firefox as a not a search engine, but I'm having a brain fart. Help me out here.
It's an application is all it is. It's a exe. It's a search browser is what it is, more or less.
It's really a browser.
Yeah. It's like Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox.
Yeah,
I used to use Mozilla Firefox quite a bit. And I might go back to them because Google Chrome has a terrible habit of eating all gigabytes of RAM for some effing reason.
Well, and also, see, Google tracks you. So Firefox, and that's what I was trying to looking for the name. It's a browser. Firefox is a browser. One, doesn't track you. It comes built in with ad blocker.
Hi, this is Peaky.
You can get additional add-ons for different things, which is really nice.
Domestic short hair.
Heck, you can even customize it and make it look like my internet browser with Firefox looks like the background of the Matrix when you got it going on. I just think it's kind of cool. So get your VPN, get you a browser that doesn't track you, and learn. That's all I got.
Yep. All right. Do you want to lead us on prayer or sprint?
Affirmative.
Very good.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. And Lord, I thank you for my friend John and for this podcast, Lord, and for Is Today the Day Media. Lord, I pray that you would bless it and just guide us, Lord, on what is the next step you want us to do. And I pray that you would bless everybody here that's listening tonight, and that ever listens to this podcast, Lord, as it goes up for later. And I just pray, Lord, that people would be able to glean information from this, not only for entertainment, which we want, but also for life-saving information. Lord, I pray for this nation right now, all the cancel culture and all the craziness going on. I pray, Lord, you would just open people's eyes that they would see, this is not the way that the United States should be. We're supposed to be united together, one nation under you, Lord. I pray, Father God, lastly, as I always do every day, Lord, for the unborn. I know we didn't talk about that or anything, Lord, but it's just something weighing heavy on my heart, Lord, now that in New Mexico, you can legally abort up to birth. And I just pray for the children, the unborn children, Lord, that you put your hand of protection on them right now. Thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen, those poor kids. All right, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate your patronage. You can find our page at facebook.com/ITTDM, that is Today the Day Media, abbreviated ITTDM.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. God bless each of you.
And make sure and hit that like button and subscribe. So
Most
you can,
importantly, that subscribe button. Let me tell you, please, if we could get up to... Go ahead.
And comment. The YouTube algorithm likes comments.
Yep.
So if you're listening, I mean, I don't care if you just say, "Hey, you sound like idiots." Please comment.
Yeah, tell us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening. This is Jonathan of Vigilance signing off.
Bye.
Nobody until somebody loves you, and that somebody is me. I love you.
Everybody loves my buddy sometime.
Good night.